Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. Seriously, Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy Holidays, whatever you want to believe, I don't care. I hope you're doing fine, I hope you had a great time with your family, and I hope you're ready. Because unfortunately this new year, 2016, is going to be a very important year for humanity, not just for America, to stand up against global tyranny. And guess what? Don't expect just the typical visualization of little minions in blue helmets coming down from the choppers. That maybe may happen after. But meanwhile, what we're going to face as humanity, we're going to be enslaved, being forced to pay for global taxes. You like it or not. And in some part of the states, you're already paying this carbon tax because they really want to make you believe that when you pay your fee for the carbon, for your CO2 emission, because, after all, you're a sinner now, because you breathe, you must pay. Like at the time of the popes, during 1600s, when, if you pay to the church, you're going to heaven. Now, if you pay to Al Gore, to the United Nations, because you're a sinner, you're a human, you eat and you drink, and maybe you try to breathe once in a while, you're consuming somehow resources. So anyway, this is a very sad thing happening. And believe it or not, we are going to face the consequences, and we need to find a way to stop it. But how can you stop it? First of all, you need to understand the origin of this. Who is behind? Okay, and what happened the last few weeks? Maybe mainstream media touched a little bit, maybe, not that well in my opinion. What happened in Paris with this international summit to fight global warming, and Mr. Obama and Kerry, flying jets that were spending and using more carbon credits, how you want to call them, more than all us combined probably for 1 year. Anyway, we have a great guy here who was there. That is also has been on my show several times. I consider him really the young generation, the new generation of who's going to continue this struggle. The first way we can fight when we are educated, and this is exactly what this gentleman is doing. He's trying to give us information. He's a journalist, he's a book author, and of course he's an American who really is concerned about global warming. About global government on my brain. Anyway, his name is Alex Newman. He's also the correspondent for one of my favorite magazine, The New American. Alex, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you very much for having me, Luca.
Thank you again for your time and everything you do. I follow you. I read the New American magazine, and I also try to follow everything you do around on Facebook. Now, where are you right now in this moment? Are you in Paris or some other part of the world?
No, I actually just left Paris a few days ago. I'm in Scandinavia right now, and I'm hoping to be gone from here in a few weeks. So
perfect. You were there. You've been following in details what's going on. I want to try to make this simple for the average person that normally does not care because think nothing's going to happen anyway. You go back to your regular life. First of all, what happened in your words, in simple words, what happened in Paris? What was called the event? How was called the event? Who was there? And what type of decision they made for us slaves?
Sure. Well, essentially, all of the leaders of the world, leaders, dictators, mass murdering gangsters of various varieties who represent the United Nations. They had 150 heads of state coming together for this COP21, the 21st conference of the parties. Now, essentially, this is the global warming circus. Every year they hold a big conference, one of these conference of the parties, and they agree, that global warming is a big problem. Humanity is the cause. We need to spend more money on global warming. We need to spend more money on ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And so this one was the biggest one ever. Actually, this was the biggest gathering of government leaders and so on in the history of humanity, as far as we know. So that's big. And essentially, they decided they created this treaty/non-treaty. It can't be a treaty because then the Senate will have to ratify it, but it is a treaty, saying that we, the masters of the universe, us, Obama, the Chinese dictator, we agree that global warming is not going to go more than 2 degrees. And to accomplish that, we're going to, for example, send $100 billion per year of wealth from Western countries to third world dictators.
Wow.
We're going to regulate and restrict emissions of carbon dioxide, the gas of life, as scientists know it.
Yeah.
We need to create a system to account for and report all emissions from all sources in the economy to the United Nations so that we can meet these pledges. You're going to have regional entities like the European Union and the African Union and the Union of South American States and the Eurasian Union allocating carbon budgets to each country soon. Where essentially, each country can release X amount of CO2 emissions, and after that, then you're in trouble, right? So basically, they've set up the nucleus here for a global totalitarian environmental agency within a global totalitarian government.
Wow.
It's a very serious thing that's happened. A lot of people are saying, well, it's non-binding, it's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. The word shall appears in this agreement more than 100 times. And the Congress is not even going to be asked to ratify. Our Constitution says treaties have to be ratified by the Senate. Well, Obama says this isn't a treaty, so the Senate doesn't get to ratify it. We're just going to do everything by executive order and by regulation and by decree. And then, of course, the Republicans in the House of Representatives just gave away everything in the budget. So essentially, it's at this point, it's a done deal, at least for the foreseeable future. And it is a big deal, Luca.
No, I understand. I would like to send a message to the supporters of this man, Mr. Obama, regardless what is your political ideology on socioeconomic, okay? Think about it. Think about if you really want to be under a dictator, somebody that completely disregards the basic foundation of a republic. In this case, we're supposed not to have a man who bypass Congress like that and acts like a king. Tomorrow could be the other guy, the other side, or whatever side. There is no difference, in my opinion. But think about it. How can you put up with such act of tyranny, you Democrats, who still support this piece of crap? Seriously. I'm disgusted. I am sad because I realize that this evil can flourish when, unfortunately, not enough good people speak up. That's why. Because, millions of us should be enraged. Say, what are you doing, you scum? Going there in our name, you. And by the way, we know that it's a lie, and I'm telling you, I'm not trying to, let's say we want to have a debate about global warming. Well, let's talk about it. Well, that's fine. Let's bring science. Let's not bring the mantra. Let's not bring this sort of almost, how you want to call it, people under hypnosis. It's like a cult. And we know that, you tell me, there's been many cases at the United Nations, even some officials from the United Nations admitting that the data about this global warming, they're all wrong. They were falsified.
That's exactly right. I think cult is the best term to describe it. Actually, one of the people who caused the global warming movement a cult is meteorology professor emeritus Richard Lindzen at MIT. One of the top meteorologists in the world, who realizes that this man-made global warming scam is exactly that, a ridiculous scam. And so he says the movement is like a cult, right? No matter how much evidence you show them that their religious beliefs are incorrect, they continue to cling with it, just with even more absurdity. So then they start saying we need to put people who don't believe their theory into jail and executing them. So they're really at the point of kind of derangement, and it's understandable because the science is all fraudulent. One of the things that happened in Paris that I thought was interesting was we had 2 counter conferences filled with top experts and scientists from around the world explaining why the entire premise of the UN's global warming charade is false on every level. Carbon dioxide, the gas that we exhale, the gas that is produced by every human activity, the gas of life that all plants need to survive, is not pollution. This is the gas of life, again. So the entire idea behind the UN system here, this notion that this carbon dioxide is pollution and it's causing global warming, is false. And the facts are clear now, but the global warmists just keep getting more and more ridiculous and trying to make you believe. So it's a very bizarre situation, especially to be there.
Exactly. And I'm sure many listeners, average person even, all you need to have a little brain. You understand why they're doing this. This has nothing to do with saving the whales or saving the bear or saving the environment. This is about global control. When they can control every human activity, and they can tell you how many times you can flush the toilet, or how many times you can burn wood to warm up, or many time you can eat, because all even food is going to be taxed on the global warming and the CO2. After all, the cows, they fart, and I'm not trying to be funny, it's true. They trying to pass a tax on cows and animals just because they emit CO2. This is insanity. It is all about global fatalism. It's about global Middle Ages, like going back to the Middle Ages, where pretty much there's going to be a very small amount of humanity, if they are humans, I'm not even sure anymore, this elite, they can control all of us in every aspect of our life. And there's going to be a lot of death. Many people are going to die, by the way. When you start to create this sort of control on human productivity, that means many people are going to starve. Many people cannot even warm up during winter. I mean, can we spell it out for the average person that maybe think, Paris, after all, who cares? It's there. They think that this treaty is just not going to change their daily life. This is going to change in everything, don't you? Can you tell us a little bit in which practical way maybe the average American is going to start to feel the pain of all this tyranny?
I think what you just described before your question was a huge element of all this. We need to keep in mind what this means long term, and you're right, it means a lot of dead people. But as to what it means to the average American right now, well, the Heritage Foundation did an interesting analysis. They found that we're going to have trillions of dollars worth of lost GDP due to higher energy costs, due to and when you have higher energy costs, of course, you have higher costs of everything. Millions of lost jobs. I think $7,000 per person in lost income. So we're talking huge consequences if all of this craziness is implemented. But beyond that, essentially what they're saying is the poor people of the world need to stay trapped in poverty. They cannot have access to reliable electricity, to energy. Instead, maybe we'll give them a windmill or a solar panel that doesn't work. And, we're expected to believe that this is in everyone's best interest. This is ridiculous. We're condemning millions of people to early deaths and to perpetual poverty under the guise of demonizing this gas of life as if it were pollution. And, the entire premise, again, is incorrect. One of the things that all these scientists at the counter conferences emphasize is that, every UN climate model has predicted increased global warming as CO2 concentrations increased. Well, for the last 2 decades, we've had a good amount of CO2 going into the atmosphere. Global temperatures have not moved at all. There has been no statistically significant global warming in 18 years and 9 months now. So Every model to base this all on is false. It's a fraud. And still, we're expected to give up trillions of dollars in wealth for global redistribution, and we're expected to submit to tyrannical controls on every element of our economy and of our lives under the guise of this fraudulent theory. So, it's unbelievable that they've managed to get it this far.
Listen, you were in Paris on the streets, you walk around, and that happened after that terrorist act, in Paris. Now, strange timing, I want to say, this is just me talking. I heard that the First Amendment, first of all, in Europe doesn't exist. We know that already. But even protesting such a situation like a global warming scam or whatever is not really allowed. But what exactly was allowed to happen? I mean, what did you see on the streets of Paris? What is the average Frenchman or French woman believes about this? Do they believe this scam, or they somehow try to stand up and say, wait a second, something doesn't add up? What was exactly the feeling on the streets of Paris when all this summit was going on?
Well, if you ask the average person on the street, and I always do that when I go to these types of things, what I found is probably a lot more French people than Americans actually believe in the foundation of this hoax, right? This notion of man-made global warming. Now, it's not unanimous. It's actually, there was somebody from an organization at the Heartland Institute Summit gave a poll that they had done, and it was something like 20 million French people don't believe in the anthropogenic global warming theory.
Wow.
But beyond that, the anger against the conference was nearly universal. Now, some people, of course, had bought into the media talking points of, it doesn't do enough to save us from global warming. But a lot of people said, you know what, this is so hypocritical. These are governments, these are dictatorships that have caused so many of these problems on the planet. The idea that they're going to save us from some kind of problem is ridiculous. So that was a very widespread sentiment. But at the Summit for Climate Realists, organized by French climate realists, you had such a wonderful group of people, scientists from different European universities talking about what a scam this was. what was going on at COP21, and just a lot of everyday French people, engineers, civil servants, all different walks of life, who realized this fraud. And I had such a great conversation with a nuclear engineer there. He told me that at first he quit his job because he was so concerned about global warming.
Mm-hmm.
Then he found out global warming was a fraud, and so now he's going to dedicate his time to exposing the fraud. But so many things clicked for him. He said, now I realize there's a small group of people who has the ability to hold huge sway over the media, huge sway over the politicians, all in the name of a lie. So, we have some powerful tools here at our disposal as well. If we can expose this, it really wakes people up to the fact that there's a small group of maniacs who are determined to make humanity submit to global totalitarianism.
Yeah, and it's exactly always a cui bonus, cui benefit. At the end of the day, we say who is behind. There are different, of course, final goals. I really believe at the end it's not even the money anymore. It's pretty much the total control. These people, they're psychopaths, and they really want to control humanity. They can tell us how many times I said that we can take a shower. Look what's happening right now in California. They can pretty much say to the average citizen that if you take the modern type of water as consumed during the day, you're going to get fined. How they can find that? Through the smart meters. So it's all already prepared. At the same time, we have big corporations, at least the big agricultural industries in California. They can consume unlimited tapping of water. Or even, for example, there was this another one that was so amazing. Nestle, Nestle, the multinational. They were found just a few months ago that they've been taking without any type of even funny permit. Normally you pay a fee and you can tap into the water, okay? Nestle is one of the main distributor of water. Normally water like, for example, Arrowhead, it's controlled by Nestle. So they've been able to completely suck billions of gallons of water that they get for free from our mountains and from our resources and selling it for profit, okay, without even paying one dime. Okay, no even say you got a basic or whatever it's supposed to be. By the way, they're a scam. They can get Michigan lakes. There was a documentary, the same company, they're able to get unlimited tapping of water. They can get as much water as they want for $100 a year. But in California, for the Arrowhead scam, not even $1. Meanwhile, the average slave, the average citizen, if you get caught using more than a certain amount of water during the week or during the month, you're going to get fined heavily. This is completely back to the old times of the Middle Ages, when kings and lords have a completely different life from us, regular serfs. And this is so sad. People don't see it. People can, I don't know why. They can do this only when enough useful idiots, they're still blind. That's really what makes me mad. It's not just the evil bastards. It's the average idiots out there that doesn't see it. And that's the problem. What do you think really, beside of course taking knowledge and trying to share this information, hopefully we can reach critical mass with the rest of humanity to expose these bastards. What do you think really we can start to do now for preparing for what's coming? Because it's going to be touching any one of us. Doesn't matter where you live, right? I mean, is there any part of the world you think can we be saved from this global warming tax?
Oh, no. I mean, this is a totally global phenomenon. And, the implications are going to affect literally everything. I mean, just think of the economic consequences of something like this when you're going to make energy costs, as Obama said, skyrocket.
Yeah.
Businesses are going to start moving to, more businesses, I should say, are going to start moving to China, to India, to other countries where they don't have to deal with this kind of craziness. And, the American economy is going to suffer hugely. As to what we can do, well, Congress, our state legislatures, we can still use these as tools to try to stop this. For one, we should insist that this is a treaty and go before the Senate, along with the UN Agenda 2030 that they ratified in September.
Yeah.
That also needs to come before the Senate. We need to get the House of Representatives to stop funding Obama's global warming charade and anything to do with this UN climate cult. The funding just needs to stop. The Republicans have a huge majority in the House of Representatives. All they have to do is say none of this money appropriated is going to be going to any of the global warming charade. And then at the state level, we need state governments to start standing up and saying, these things are not going to be implemented in our states. They're not going to be implemented in our counties. Our state employees, our state officers are not going to help in implementing this totalitarianism. So we have a lot of tools that we can use, and we need to do that. But like you said, also education, I think, is going to be probably the most important thing at this point. People need to educate themselves on the phony science that the United Nations is using, on the agenda that's being pursued here. You have to see through the marketing schemes and the nice phrases that they use to understand what they're really up to. And then we need to educate others in our communities and so on. And of course, our elected representatives to be able to turn the ship around.
Yeah, I believe, I'm glad I'm talking to you today a little bit, I tell you, because even I'm very positive and I always have hope and I always say, till there is life, there is hope. Sometimes I need to hear somebody else saying these things, because sometimes it's very hard to face all this. Not just for me. I always think, yeah, we're going to face it immediately anyway. Don't worry, guys. Even if you think you're old, guess what? You're going to see it in this life. But I really feel sorry for who's coming after us, because it's going to be living like in a new, complete nightmare movie. Unfortunately, it's not a movie. It's going to be real. And we owe it to the next generation. We cannot just give up. We can't. We have to try everything we can. And I tell you, you're right. We have to, first of all, to start to remember this Congress. I don't care. Maybe, it's so sad when they go to Washington. These people, they become transformed, complete liars, most of them at least. I don't know how we can do that, but we have to find a way to really start to mobilize. Like people can go to the stadium and fill up that empty space with 50,000 bodies. You better start to prepare yourself to fill up and surround your congressman office with your body if you have to, on this issue at least. This is so important. That's the only way they're going to start to feel. They need to see your presence. They need to see you're alive. Otherwise, these people, look at, for example, now the Republican leadership, Ryan. I mean, how can you even fake it to be proud to be a Republican when you know that you've been conned so many times? First with Bonner, then with McConnell, then with you, Ryan. They are just puppets following the same orders that Obama is following. They're just on the same bed together. So it's time really to start to be a little more aggressive than just a typical email. You need to start to really show your body, be polite, be respectful, at the same time don't be shy, because they are selling us out. But I believe, yeah, we gotta do something. And also another thing I want to ask you, sometimes I get really, really emotional on this. This is so bad, I don't know. What really you think at this point? We have a micro world. It's our little life, okay? I mean, we have the big world that we cannot change immediately, but we have our little family, our little house, our little place, to try to at least be prepared, because when the food is going to be skyrocketing, when you have your electric bill is going to be more expensive probably than your mortgage, you got to start to have a plan. What would you do for yourself to try to prepare your family for what's coming right now?
That's a very important question, and I think it's something that everybody needs to give some thought to. Of course, we can't predict the future, but based on current trends, it's, quite prudent of us to think about where this is all going and how to be prepared. And so, I tell people, try not to be in debt. Try to make sure you have savings. Try to make sure you have some cash on hand. Try to make sure that you don't have all of your savings invested in, say, Federal Reserve notes or U.S. denominated assets. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell people what they should buy, but there's all kinds of assets out there that tend to do good during tough times. And yeah, I mean, it's something that people need to think about. Think what is the worst case scenario, and just make proper risk assessments and decide what you need to do. And it's not to be paranoid, but what they say, hope and pray for the best and prepare for the worst. So.
Yeah, and also, I think really it's time to regroup in like-minded communities. I really believe that, because they will come to your door even for this enforcement. I mean, people maybe don't realize that. When they start to enforce the different carbon taxes or carbon credits or the different type of regulations at county level, at city level, I mean, this is going to be like completely a revival of tyranny 201 or 2.0, 2.0, like when you see the time during the Bolshevik Revolution come and get you during the night, or during the Nazi time. I mean, think about it. There's already now regulations, not Congress, just because the EPA said so, because Obama said so, that for example, wood stove, if it is not the latest model with all the different filtration, it probably is going to cost you $3,000 to have a little wood stove. It's illegal. You cannot buy it anymore. It cannot be sold anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised pretty soon they're going to make it illegal burn wood at all. Or even if you have a well, you must have a permit and you must pay the tax for every gallon of water that you have. Because that's water doesn't belong to you, belongs to the United Nations. What do you think? You think am I too crazy, or you think we maybe in the near future we may face something like that, and it's time to regroup in like-minded communities? What do you think?
Well, you're absolutely right, Luca, that is essentially the end agenda of these maniacs. They want to create a totalitarian global system in which they control all the resources for themselves, and everybody else who survives, and which is not going to be everybody, is treated as, a serf. And ideally, these serfs should love their serfdom. So, that is exactly what they want. As to whether they'll get it and whether they'll get it soon or not, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
But, I would say that it's something that we should be concerned about, and it's something that we need to work as hard as we can to avoid, for our own sakes and for the sakes of our children and grandchildren and for the sake of our fellow citizens and of our republic. And so, I say we got to keep working, as much as possible until there's nothing more to do. So,
please, Democrats, listen, I know many of you, they're awake, at least I hope you are. But the one that you're still believing into this mantra, into this cult, don't be proud. Don't just be full of pride. Just try to be a human being for a moment. Forget about the politics. I'm talking to you like another human. Wake up, seriously. Don't be an idiot. Don't be a jerk idiot, because your arrogance is gonna make us pay for the rest of humanity. This travesty. It's gonna be a technocratic tyranny that probably is never gonna end if we let it happen. So seriously, we need your help. We need everybody's help, okay? This is not about politics anymore. It's about something. It's about freedom or complete slavery for the rest of humanity. We need to stop it together. I know there are a lot of good Democrats out there. They're exposing Agenda 21. There is, I think their name is Cory. I forgot the last name. She wrote a book, The Green Mask. Anyway, there are a lot of Democrats out there trying to focus on that. Please, we need everybody. Obama is a traitor. Obama, like many other politicians around the world, they're all being bought out. And they're selling us out to globalists. That's what they've been doing. Luis, are you planning to go back to America pretty soon, Paul? Alex, excuse me?
Yeah, if everything goes according to plan, I should be back next month. So.
Okay. So I'm just curious, I like you because you go around the world, you have an interesting job, but where is your home now officially? Europe or back to United States? Where you are, if I can ask you?
Nowhere and everywhere. We spent a lot of time this year in Spain, some time in Sweden, most time in Florida.
Okay.
So we're spending a little bit of time in a number of places. I think next year we might spend even more in Florida, though. So. Perfect.
I'm glad. Maybe one day I'd like to really meet you. I really appreciate it. By the way, how is your book going? Can you give a little plug on your book when we talked last time, please? Remind us everything.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks very much, Luca. It's doing good. We're in the second printing now. We sold out of the first one, so that's encouraging. And the message is getting out there, so that's the most encouraging. I mean, we need to understand that if we're going to ultimately win this battle, it's going to be through education, right? And the globalists have their eyes on the children, the Common Core, with the efforts to indoctrinate them into, accepting and even supporting this global totalitarianism. And so we need to understand that education is going to be important. So I'm happy that the message is getting out there. And, if it does, I think we have a good chance if enough parents wake up and realize that they have to protect the minds of their kids from the brainwashing and the indoctrination that's going on in the schools.
And give the name again, please. Spell it out clearly and where people can buy it.
Sure. It's Crimes of the Educators, How Utopians Are Using Government Schools to Destroy America's Children. And people can buy it pretty much from anywhere that sells books. Amazon.com has it. All the big retailers have it online, the Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble. You can buy used copies out there. You can get electronic version if you use the Kindle or whatever those things are. So you can get it any kind of way, and just try and get the information. It's extremely important, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whether you know a teacher or know a parent. We're talking about crimes of immense proportions being committed against the children of this country, deliberately creating millions of illiterate children. This is huge. And if we're going to ultimately win the battle for freedom, the battle for the republic, we need to understand what's going on in the schools.
And also how to expose global warming, because unfortunately the globalists, they are indoctrinating our youth. So they will become some sort of drones when they get out of school. They don't even use anymore their brain. They're going to just follow the mantra and the cult. And that's how they're going to create this global government with all this tyranny.
Yep, and Luca, you know what's amazing in this treaty that's coming out of Paris, there is a specific clause in there. It says governments shall, notice that is not optional, governments shall cooperate on global warming, education, public information, and awareness. So basically, governments agreed that they're going to unleash more global warming propaganda in the schools, more global warming propaganda in the media, until people are sufficiently indoctrinated into this hoax that they'll accept the kind of ludicrous policies that the UN is proposing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very important. That's why I wanted to bring up also your book, because I really believe, I read it, it's a great tool to try to start to take, these globalists, they've been working against us on many levels with a very long time. And now it's time to get it back, to try to regain now victories on different levels. And the first level, we must understand the non-education system, but it's a public re-education. That's how they condition the youth to become the new type of perfect slaves for this global government. So we gotta really, that book is perfect. I say, guys, there is now on Amazon. By the way, you can get it also for, if you want to buy used, for a few cents. I mean, it's amazing. But buy new one, support the author, please. We need author like you, Alex. Really, I really appreciate you very much. And at that point, Lisa, what is the website? If you want to give a website where people can reach you out, or even they can read your work, you have a lot of great articles out there.
Thanks very much, Luca. Actually, I still have not finished compiling all of it onto one website. But if people want to read, most of my articles are on The New American, thenewamerican.com. I write for and have written for all kinds of other publications, WND, different magazines and newspapers, so you can always just Google me as well. And then, I'm on Twitter also, and eventually I'm going to put all this onto, one website where people can go. So thanks very much, Luca. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. Listen, I appreciate you very much. Have a safe trip back to the States or wherever you're going to be. Stay safe with your family, and please be in touch with us when you have any other, I don't want to call it exciting, terrible news from these bastards, okay? Okay.
All right, you too. Thank you so much, Luca.
Thank you, guys. Hey, guys, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna, and I remind you, I'm on the show. I want to do this show because I really believe it's an act of love, and it's my duty. I have no desire, honestly, to spend hours during the week to be on the air. I couldn't care less. But I really think this is the time every one of us needs to try to do their best to wake up the rest of humanity, even if you start from your family member or if you start from your neighbor. Let's do something together. Don't go away. Please, more news and more facts about all this mess we're living through. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.